Hello, I'm Maura Carley, founder and president of Healthcare Navigation, and today let's talk about Medicare's special enrollment period, which applies to people who work beyond age 65 and have active group coverage through their work or a spouse's employment. And so let's talk about when the special enrollment period begins for those people. It actually begins when their initial enrollment period ends. So that's 3 months after the month of their 65th birthday. And this is what applies to enrolling in Medicare Part B through a special enrollment. Remember, you can apply for Medicare Part A without any undue headaches, but Medicare Part B is what you need to be very careful of, for so many reasons, to make sure you have medical coverage, to make sure you don't enroll incorrectly and end up with premium penalties and so on. So you have to be very careful about understanding the rules associated with Medicare Part B. Anyway, those who use a special enrollment should know that the special enrollment period begins when it does and extends through your active employment and beyond. I'll talk about the beyond in a minute because I don't even like talking about the beyond, because the fact is most people are not going to apply for Part B when they still have the active group coverage. Most people, because Part B involves a premium, most people are going to want their group coverage to end on a certain day that is the end of the month, and their Medicare begin the next day. So let me just describe the beyond briefly, but you have an 8-month period that defines the end of your special enrollment period, which is tied to your not actively working any longer or the loss of that group coverage, whichever comes first. But I don't even like to mention that because when people retire, they need to be thinking about their group coverage ending one day and Medicare and whatever other decisions they make about supplements and advantage plans and so on, Part D, taking effect the next day. To use a special enrollment period, you have to demonstrate to Social Security that you had the active group coverage. It's not an honor system. There's a form called CMS L564 that each employer, and I say each because we've had people who had 3 former employers after age 65, and that's usually the form the employer completes to show that you had the active group coverage and what the government wants to see. There are other ways to prove you had the active group coverage, but that's probably the most straightforward, so we'll talk about that. Prior to the pandemic, we recommended that people take that form and what's called the CMS 40B into their local Social Security office because we had experiences with Social Security misplacing those forms, which seems to not happen when they're hand delivered. However, because Social Security has been closed to in-person traffic since March of 2020, they have made available a portal one can use, and we'll give you the information about that portal, but basically you can go online and enter the information that was in the 40B, which is just basic demographic information, and then upload the CMS L564 or multiple CMS L564s if you have them. Then you want to be vigilant. If you're using a special enrollment period to get on Part B, you're already on Part A and have your Medicare number. So there are a couple of ways you can check to follow up to see if Social Security is processing your Part B in the timely way you desire. And the first is going back to your My Social Security account. It will show up there. And if you've created a mymedicare.gov account, the Part B effective date will also show up there in advance of your getting a new Medicare card. Our advice is to never leave anything to chance. If you don't see that showing up, you should call, you should keep the forms, fax them to your local office, and follow up, because it's so important that you know your Medicare Part B effective date. It is tied to your ability to enroll in a private supplement if that's what you choose, or to enroll in an Advantage plan if that's what you choose. And for most people, it is also the date that they will want drug coverage to be in effect. So the special enrollment period, remember, it only applies to people who have coverage through their work beyond age 65 or a spouse's active employment. So I thank you for listening about special enrollment periods, and we will look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.